I was sitting in a bank manager's office when my entire future evaporated. I'd gone in to access my trust fund, money my grandfather had left me specifically for buying my first home, $500,000 that had been sitting there since I was 18, growing, waiting for the day I was ready to use it. I was 28 now, engaged, with a stable career and a down payment ready. The bank manager pulled up my account and I watched his face change. He went from professional smile to confused frown to something that looked like pity. "Miss Carter, I'm afraid this account was emptied 4 months ago." I laughed because surely he was looking at the wrong account. That's not possible. My mother is the trustee, but the money can only be withdrawn for specific purposes outlined in my grandfather's will. I'm the only beneficiary. He turned his computer screen toward me. There it was, zero balance, $500,000, gone, withdrawn in a single transaction by Linda Carter, trustee, my mother. My name is Emma Carter. I'm 28 years old, and this is the story of how my mother stole $500,000 from me to send my addict brother to his 17th rehab facility, a luxury resort in Malibu that cost $35,000 a month, and how he relapsed exactly 14 days after getting out. This is the story of how enabling destroys families, how some parents choose one child over another no matter the cost, and how I learned that sometimes cutting people off isn't cruelty, it's survival. Growing up, my family looked perfect from the outside. Upper middle class, nice house in the suburbs, 2 kids, married parents. But behind closed doors, everything revolved around my older brother, Tyler. Tyler was 3 years older than me, and he'd been in trouble since middle school. Started with skipping classes, then shoplifting, then weed, then pills, then cocaine, then heroin. By the time I was 15 and he was 18, Tyler had been to 3 different rehab facilities. Each time he'd come home seemingly better, make promises to stay clean, and within weeks or months he'd relapse. And each time, my parents, especially my mother, would scramble to fix it. More therapy, better rehab, different approach. This time will be different. Except it never was. My entire childhood was overshadowed by Tyler's addiction, family dinners interrupted by his overdose scares, vacations canceled because he needed to go to treatment, my high school graduation where my mother spent the entire ceremony on the phone with Tyler's probation officer, college visits where my parents seemed distracted, worried, always waiting for the next crisis. I learned early that my achievements didn't matter as much as Tyler's problems. When I got straight A's, the response was, "That's great, honey," followed immediately with, "Have you heard from your brother?" When I got accepted to my dream college with a partial scholarship, my mother's first question was, "How much will we still need to pay?" because Tyler's latest stint in rehab had drained their savings. I went to college on loans and scholarships and worked 3 jobs to cover what financial aid didn't. Meanwhile, my parents spent over $200,000 on Tyler's various treatments over the years. Inpatient rehab, outpatient programs, sober living houses, therapists, lawyers for his drug charges, bail money, paying off dealers who threatened him. The money just poured out, and Tyler just kept using. I'd gone low contact with my family by the time I graduated. I loved them, but I couldn't watch the cycle anymore. Couldn't watch my mother enable Tyler's addiction while simultaneously draining herself emotionally and financially. Couldn't watch my father go along with it, passive and defeated. I moved across the country for a job, visited once a year, kept phone calls brief. Then I met James. He was kind, stable, everything Tyler wasn't. We dated for 2 years before he proposed. I said yes immediately. We started looking at houses, making plans for our future. That's when I remembered the trust fund. My grandfather, my mother's father, had passed away when I was 18. He'd left me $500,000 in a trust with my mother as trustee. The terms were clear. The money was for buying my first home or starting a business. It couldn't be accessed until I was 25 or had a legitimate reason for early withdrawal. I'd known about it, but I'd been focused on building my career, paying off my student loans, establishing myself. Now, at 28, engaged and ready to buy a house, it was time. I called my mother to let her know I'd be accessing the trust. Her response should have warned me. Oh, the trust. Right. Can we talk about that? There's nothing to talk about, Mom. I'm buying a house. That's literally what Grandpa left the money for. I know, honey, but there's been a situation. My stomach dropped. What kind of situation? Tyler needed help. He was in really bad shape. We found this amazing facility in California, right on the beach. Incredible success rates. But it was expensive, and we'd already spent everything we had on his last rehab, and my father's insurance wouldn't cover it because it was out of network, and Tyler was going to die if we didn't do something. Mom, tell me you didn't... Silence. The trust fund was just sitting there and you weren't using it, and Tyler needed it right now. It was life or death, Emma. I couldn't breathe, couldn't speak, couldn't process what I was hearing. You spent my trust fund on Tyler's rehab? I borrowed it. Once he's better, once he's working again, we'll pay you back. That was $500,000, Mom. How exactly are you planning to pay that back? We'll figure it out. The important thing is Tyler is getting help. How many times have you said that? How many rehabs has he been to? This one is different. They're always different, and he always relapses. You don't understand addiction. You don't understand how hard this is. I understand that you just stole $500,000 from me. I didn't steal it. I'm the trustee. I had the legal right to access it. For my benefit, not Tyler's. Grandpa left that money for me. She started crying. This was her pattern. When confronted with something she'd done wrong, she'd cry until the other person felt guilty for being upset, but I wasn't falling for it anymore. When did you take it? 4 months ago. 4 months. She'd stolen my inheritance 4 months ago and hadn't said a word, had let me keep planning my future, looking at houses with James, making budgets based on money that no longer existed. I'm going to need you to pay it back. Emma, we don't have that kind of money. You know we don't. Then I guess you'll have to take out a loan, sell the house. I don't care. That was my money and I want it back. You're being unreasonable. Tyler is your brother. He almost died. Tyler has almost died 17 times, and each time you throw more money at the problem while he does nothing to actually fix himself. How dare you? He has a disease. And you have an addiction too, Mom. You're addicted to saving him. You're addicted to the drama. You're addicted to being the martyr mother who sacrifices everything for her troubled son. But you know what? I'm done being collateral damage in your savior complex.
I hung up on her, sat in my car in the bank parking lot and cried for an hour. James found me there. I'd texted him the address, and he'd come immediately. When I told him what happened, his face went through a dozen emotions before landing on fury. She stole from you. We need to call the police. She's the trustee. She's claiming she had a legal right. Did she? I don't know. I need to call a lawyer. We called a lawyer, a trust and estate attorney named Patricia Wu. I explained the situation, and she asked for copies of the trust documents. I had them emailed to her from the bank. She called me back 3 hours later. This is a straightforward breach of fiduciary duty. The trust explicitly states the funds are for your benefit for purchasing a home or starting a business. Your mother, as trustee, had an obligation to act in your best interest, not her own or your brother's. She violated that duty. You can sue her. Will I win? Almost certainly. The language is very clear. But Emma, I need to be honest with you. Even if you win, getting the money back is a different story. If your parents don't have assets or income to repay you, winning a judgment doesn't mean you'll actually recover the funds. So I'm just screwed? Not necessarily. We can pursue their assets, put liens on their house, garnish wages, force a sale of property, but it's messy and it takes time. How much time? Could be years. Years! I had spent years working my ass off, paying off student loans, saving money, building a life, and my mother had destroyed it all in one transaction to enable my brother's addiction one more time. I hired Patricia. We filed the lawsuit within 2 weeks. My mother was served with papers at her house. She called me immediately, hysterical. How could you sue your own mother? How could you steal from your own daughter? I was trying to save your brother's life.
No, you were enabling his addiction like you've done for 20 years, and you used my future to do it. If he dies, it will be on your conscience. If he dies, it will be because he's an addict who refuses to do the work to stay sober, not because I wouldn't let you steal from me to fund luxury rehab. You've always been selfish, always been cold. You don't understand love. I understand boundaries, which is more than you've ever learned. I hung up on her again. The lawsuit took 8 months. During that time, I learned some things that made everything so much worse. My mother hadn't just taken my money for Tyler's rehab, she'd taken it because Tyler had begged her to send him to this specific facility, Serenity Shores, Malibu. It was a luxury rehab resort where celebrities went, private rooms overlooking the ocean, gourmet meals, yoga and meditation, equine therapy, art classes. It was less a rehab and more an expensive vacation with some group therapy mixed in. $35,000 per month for a 30-day program. My mother had paid for 3 months up front, $105,000. The rest of my trust fund, the remaining $395,000, she'd given directly to Tyler. When this came out in depositions, I actually laughed. It was so absurd I couldn't even be angry anymore. She gave him $400,000 in cash? Patricia nodded grimly. Your brother claimed he needed it to get back on his feet. Rent, car, business startup costs. Your mother believed him. And what did he actually do with it? Patricia slid documents across the table. Bank records, obtained through discovery. Tyler had blown through $400,000 in 3 months. Bought a Mercedes, rented a penthouse apartment in Miami, bottle service at clubs, designer clothes, cocaine, heroin, prostitutes. Gone. All of it. Gone. I sat there staring at the records of my inheritance being snorted up my brother's nose and injected into his veins, and I felt something in me break. Not my heart, that had broken a long time ago. Something deeper. The last thread of connection to my family just snapped. I want every penny back. I don't care what it takes. Emma, your brother has no assets. He's broke. The money is gone. Then my parents' assets, their house, their retirement, everything. I want it all. Patricia looked at me for a long moment. Are you sure? If we pursue this aggressively, you'll destroy your parents financially. They'll lose their home. They destroyed my future. Turnabout is fair play. The judge ruled in my favor. Complete victory. $500,000 plus interest, plus legal fees, plus punitive damages for breach of fiduciary duty. Total, $673,000. My parents were ordered to pay it back. They didn't have it, of course, so we put a lien on their house. Their retirement accounts were garnished. My father's wages were garnished. Slowly, painfully, I started getting money back. But it wasn't enough, and it wasn't fast enough. Patricia filed for a forced sale of their house. My parents would have to sell, pay off their mortgage, and give me the equity. They'd be left with maybe $50,000 and no home. My mother called me one last time before the house sale went through. Please, Emma, please don't do this. This is our home. We've lived here for 30 years. Where are we supposed to go? I don't know, Mom. Where was I supposed to get the money for my house after you gave my inheritance to Tyler? We'll pay you back slowly. We'll set up a payment plan. I already have a payment plan. It's called Taking Your House. You've become cruel. No, I've become realistic. You made a choice. You chose Tyler over me, over your own financial security, over everything. And now you're facing the consequences. That's not cruelty, that's cause and effect. He's my son. I love him. I couldn't let him die. You couldn't let him face natural consequences. There's a difference. And you know what the worst part is? The absolute worst part? She was crying, but she didn't hang up. The worst part is that Tyler didn't even stay sober. You want to know what happened to your precious rehab? The luxury facility that cost more than most people make in a year? Silence on the other end. Tyler relapsed 14 days after he got out. 14 days, Mom. He lasted 2 weeks. And you know why I know that? Because he called me from jail asking me to bail him out. He'd been arrested for possession again. So you destroyed my future, stole my inheritance, and enabled his addiction, and he didn't even make 3 weeks before he was using again. Was it worth it? She hung up on me this time. The house sold. I got $312,000 from the sale. Not nearly enough to repay what was owed, but it was something. My parents moved into a small apartment. My father, who'd been mostly silent through all of this, sent me one email. I'm sorry. Your mother has a sickness too. It's not an excuse, but it's an explanation. I should have stopped her. I should have protected you. I didn't. And now we're all paying for it. I didn't respond. What was there to say? Tyler reached out too, called me from yet another rehab, his 18th one. This one was court-ordered after his arrest. Emma, I'm sorry. I know I fucked up. I know I wasted your money. I want to make it right. How exactly are you planning to make it right, Tyler? You gonna get a job and pay me back $600,000? I'm going to get sober for real this time. I'm going to work the program, I'm going to rebuild my life, and then I'll pay you back every cent. I've heard this speech 16 times before. This time is different. It's always different until it's not. I'm your brother. Don't you love me? I love who you could have been, but I can't love who you are. You're a black hole that sucks up everything good around you. Money, time, hope, family, and I'm not letting you suck up anything else from me.
So that's it? You're just cutting me off? Tyler, you've been cut off from reality your entire adult life. Mom and Dad made sure you never had to face actual consequences for your choices. Someone gave you $500,000 and you blew it in 3 months on drugs and bullshit. You didn't hit rock bottom because they kept patting the ground. Well, I'm not patting anything anymore. You want to get sober? Great. Do it for yourself, but don't do it for me because I'm done. You're heartless. I'm protected. There's a difference. He hung up. I blocked his number, blocked my mother's, blocked my father's. James and I got married 6 months later. We bought a smaller house than we'd planned. I'd gotten about half my money back by that point, and we made it work. The wedding was small. My side of the aisle was nearly empty, just a few friends. James's family welcomed me with open arms. His mother hugged me before the ceremony and whispered, "I'm so sorry your family isn't here, but you're our family now." I cried through the entire ceremony. My mother sent a letter to the wedding venue, delivered the day before. It said, "I hope you're happy now. You've destroyed this family over money. Your grandfather would be ashamed of you. Tyler is in the hospital again. He overdosed last week. He almost died. This is your fault for not supporting him, for not helping us help him. Blood is thicker than water, but apparently money is thicker than blood to you." James read the letter first and tried to keep it from me, but I insisted. After I read it, I tore it up and threw it away. "She's trying to make you feel guilty," James said. "She wants you to think Tyler's overdose is your fault." I know. It's not your fault. I know that too. Do you? Because you look like you're about to cry. I'm not crying because I feel guilty. I'm crying because my mother is so deep in her dysfunction that she genuinely believes I'm the problem. She genuinely thinks that if I just let her steal from me, everything would be fine. That if I just kept enabling Tyler, he'd magically get better. She can't see that she's the reason he's never had to face reality. Some people can't be saved, not because they're not worth saving, but because they don't want to be saved. Your brother doesn't want to be sober. He wants to be high. And your mother doesn't want him to be sober either. She wants him to need her. He was right. I'd known it on some level for years, but hearing it said out loud made it real. My mother's identity was wrapped up in being Tyler's savior. If Tyler got better, who would she be? What would her purpose be? She needed him to be sick so she could be needed. The next 2 years were hard but good. James and I built our life. I got therapy, lots of therapy, to process the betrayal and the family estrangement. My therapist, Dr. Sarah Kim, helped me understand that what I'd experienced wasn't just theft. It was a profound violation of trust, of my grandfather's wishes, of my future. Your mother chose immediate gratification over your long-term well-being, Dr. Kim said. She chose the false hope of fixing your brother over the guaranteed improvement of your life, and she did it knowing it would hurt you.
Why do I still feel guilty? Because you were trained from childhood to put Tyler's needs first, to see his addiction as more important than your achievements, to accept that you're the strong one who doesn't need help. But Emma, you did need that money. You earned it through your grandfather's love, and it was stolen from you. Will I ever get past this? You're already past it. You set boundaries. You protected yourself. You fought back. Now you're just dealing with the grief of what you lost, not just the money, but the family you wish you'd had. She was right. I wasn't grieving the family I'd actually had. I was grieving the fantasy family I'd wanted. The mother who would have celebrated my success instead of resenting it for making Tyler look bad. The brother who would have been proud of me instead of viewing me as a resource to exploit. The father who would have stood up for me instead of passively enabling my mother's dysfunction. 3 years after the lawsuit, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. I answered because I was expecting a call from a contractor working on our house. It was my father. "Emma, please don't hang up." I almost hung up anyway, but something in his voice stopped me. "What do you want, Dad?" "Tyler died last week. Overdose. He was alone in a motel room. They didn't find him for 3 days." I sat down hard on the couch. Tyler was dead. My brother was dead. I waited for the grief to hit me, but instead I just felt tired. So tired. "I'm sorry for your loss." "Our loss. He was your brother." "He stopped being my brother a long time ago." "Don't say that. He loved you." "He loved what I could give him. There's a difference." My father was crying now. "The funeral is on Saturday. Your mother wants you to come. She wants to see you. She wants to apologize. She had 3 years to apologize. She chose not to. She's destroyed, Emma. She's barely functioning. She blames herself for Tyler's death. She should. She enabled his addiction for 20 years. She made sure he never had to face real consequences. She stole my money to fund his final binge. Yeah, Dad, she should blame herself. That's cruel. That's honest. There's a difference. Will you come to the funeral, please? For me, if not for her? I thought about it. Imagined walking into a church full of people who'd watched Tyler destroy himself and my mother destroy me trying to save him. Imagined my mother approaching me, crying, expecting comfort. Imagined having to pretend I was devastated when really I just felt empty. No, Dad, I won't be there. He was your brother. He was an addict who refused to get better, and you and Mom made sure he never had to. You enabled him to death, and you stole my future to do it. So no, I won't be performing grief at his funeral. I won't be giving Mom the absolution she's looking for. I'll mourn the Tyler who could have existed if you'd loved him enough to let him hit bottom, but I won't mourn the Tyler who actually existed, the one who helped Mom steal from me and then blew $500,000 on a 3-month bender. When did you become so hard? When I had to be. When being soft meant being destroyed. I learned it from watching what happened to you. He hung up without saying goodbye. I didn't go to the funeral. Sent flowers with a card that said, "Tyler, I hope you found the peace in life that you couldn't find in death." My mother tried to call me after the funeral, left a voicemail that was 4 minutes of sobbing interspersed with fragments of words. "Your fault, should have helped, he needed you, please, I'm sorry, come home." I deleted it without finishing. James held me while I cried that night. Not for Tyler. I'd grieved him years ago, grieved the person he could have been. I cried for the family I'd never had, for the mother who'd chosen enabling over loving, for the father who'd been too weak to intervene, for the grandfather whose final gift to me had been stolen and destroyed. "You did the right thing," James said. "I know." "Do you? Because you look like you're about to cry." "I'm not crying because I feel guilty. I'm crying because my mother is so deep in her dysfunction that she genuinely believes I'm the problem. She genuinely thinks that if I just let her steal from me, everything would be fine. That if I just kept enabling Tyler, he'd magically get better. She can't see that she's the reason he's never had to face reality. Some people can't be saved, not because they're not worth saving, but because they don't want to be saved. Your brother doesn't want to be sober. He wants to be high. And your mother doesn't want him to be sober either. She wants him to need her." He was right. I'd known it on some level for years, but hearing it said out loud made it real. My mother's identity was wrapped up in being Tyler's savior. If Tyler got better, who would she be? What would her purpose be? She needed him to be sick so she could be needed. The next 2 years were hard but good. James and I built our life. I got therapy, lots of therapy, to process the betrayal and the family estrangement. My therapist, Dr. Sarah Kim, helped me understand that what I'd experienced wasn't just theft. It was a profound violation of trust, of my grandfather's wishes, of my future. Your mother chose immediate gratification over your long-term well-being, Dr. Kim said. She chose the false hope of fixing your brother over the guaranteed improvement of your life, and she did it knowing it would hurt you. Why do I still feel guilty? Because you were trained from childhood to put Tyler's needs first, to see his addiction as more important than your achievements, to accept that you're the strong one who doesn't need help. But Emma, you did need that money. You earned it through your grandfather's love, and it was stolen from you. Will I ever get past this? You're already past it. You set boundaries. You protected yourself. You fought back. Now you're just dealing with the grief of what you lost, not just the money, but the family you wish you'd had. She was right. I wasn't grieving the family I'd actually had. I was grieving the fantasy family I'd wanted, the mother who would have celebrated my success instead of resenting it for making Tyler look bad, the brother who would have been proud of me instead of viewing me as a resource to exploit, the father who would have stood up for me instead of passively enabling my mother's dysfunction. 3 years after the lawsuit, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. I answered because I was expecting a call from a contractor working on our house. It was my father. "Emma, please don't hang up." I almost hung up anyway, but something in his voice stopped me. "What do you want, Dad?" "Tyler died. Last week. Overdose. He was alone in a motel room. They didn't find him for 3 days." I sat down hard on the couch. Tyler was dead. My brother was dead. I waited for the grief to hit me, but instead I just felt tired. So tired. "I'm sorry for your loss." "Our loss. He was your brother. He stopped being my brother a long time ago." "Don't say that. I'm 34 now. James and I have 2 kids. Beautiful, healthy, loved. My in-laws are amazing grandparents, present, supportive, actually interested in our lives. We've built a good life. I've recovered financially from what my mother stole, though it set us back years. Our house is smaller than it could have been. Our retirement savings started later than planned, but we made it work. I never got all my money back. My parents' assets covered about 60% of what they owed me. The rest is gone, spent on Tyler's final binge and my mother's legal fees. I've made peace with that. Some things can't be recovered. Some losses can't be fixed. Sometimes you just have to accept that you were robbed and move forward anyway. To anyone out there dealing with addiction in their family, setting boundaries is not abandonment. Protecting yourself is not selfishness. Refusing to enable is not cruelty. You cannot fix someone who doesn't want to be fixed, and you should never, ever sacrifice your future for someone else's addiction, not even family, especially not family, because the people who are supposed to love you most are the ones who can hurt you worst, and sometimes the most loving thing you can do is walk away. My name is Emma Carter. My mother stole $500,000 from me to send my brother to luxury rehab. He relapsed in 14 days. He died 3 years later from the same addiction she'd enabled his entire life. She died asking for my forgiveness. I didn't give it, and I don't regret that, because forgiveness isn't something you owe people who've destroyed you. It's something you give yourself when you're ready to stop carrying their guilt. And I stopped carrying it the day I walked out of that bank and hired a lawyer. Some bridges are meant to burn, and some family ties are meant to be cut.